Exporting 90% of its pork production to countries in and out of the EU, Denmark tends to be ahead of the game when it comes to food safety, environmental protection and animal welfare. But with the requirement to replace sow stalls with group pens due to be implemented by the European Commission in January 2013, the Danish pig industry is facing higher production costs and fears that the varying levels of compliance across member states might result in a loss of competitiveness.
We've just come through a very, very tough period for the pig industry, not just in Denmark but across Europe. As far as we're concerned, we stand very much shoulder to shoulder with our colleagues in Britain who want to ensure that everything is done to make sure that there is full compliance across the EU. Having made all the necessary investments, we're very keen that producers throughout Europe should comply by the 1st of January. We're already a significant part of the way there. I think over 3/4 of our farmers now comply. We will lose some farmers this year, and the rest are in the process of making the necessary changes.
I'm very optimistic that everyone will comply. It's first of all because it's part of Danish legislation, so no matter what happened in the EU, it's still a requirement in Denmark. Of course, that will imply higher cost for the Danish producers. Currently, 75% of the sows are compliant with 2013, so we got 25% of the sows that still need to be loose house before 1st of January. We assume half of these farmers will go out of business. They might be old farmers between 50-60 years and they will decide to stop before 1st of January. But the other half will then adjust their current systems within their current buildings and try to adjust them to comply. And that will of course imply that they will have to cut down in number of sows because of higher space requirements, so they will lose out on productivity.
Our investigation shows us around 70% will be ready. Another 24% will be ready within 2013, and the rest, and that's production-wise, the rest about 6% will go out of business, be retire or just shut down. If that's the trend throughout the industry, 6% lower production, of course, is huge.
Those farmers who decide to build from scratch and build a complete new unit, they will expand the number of sows. So I think we will end up on being able to produce the same number of pigs, but maybe at a higher cost in the end.
This farmer began the transition 5 years ago and invested a total of $3.4 million into his new facility. Of that amount, $1.8 million was put towards replacing the sow stalls, and the rest was used to modernize and expand the farm, as well as install an environmentally friendly manure cooling system. Although he is happy with the new housing system, he sees the change as a potential threat to the Danish pig industry, which is already suffering from ever-increasing red tape and some of the toughest environmental regulations in Europe.
Ja, det synes jeg faktisk, det er rimelig svært, fordi at der kommer så mange nye regler hele tiden, så vi når aldrig rigtig at komme ind i den. Så jeg synes, man skulle fra politikernes side skulle overveje lidt mere, hvad det er, man egentlig lovgiver om. Jeg synes, det er blevet rigtig svært. Og desværre så er det blevet sådan, at vi landmænd, vi praktiske landmænd, der er en masse ting, som vi faktisk ikke administrativt er i stand til selv at udføre, fordi at det kræver en vis ekspertise. Så vi holder mange beskæftigede i konsulentsektoren. Det er svært at sige, men jeg tror ikke, den stiger, det må jeg sige. Jeg tror faktisk, at vi får så svært ved at konkurrere, så at det nok er status quo. Jeg tror, den falder på lang sigt. Også fordi der stilles så strenge miljøkrav til os, så vi får svært og svært ved at leve op til de ting. Vi har jo også et rigtig nidkært kontrolsystem i Danmark på mange måder inden for miljø. Men jeg håber, at vi kan blive med at overleve som svineproducenter. Ellers så må vi stille noget yderligere krav til slagteriet.
All our farmers has been investing to convert their production into 2013 legislation. And that investment, of course, is put on to the cost of our production. It does affect our competitiveness. Hopefully we have some benefits as well, because we hope that a lot of consumers will focus on this and say, well, actually we want to buy from countries, from companies who is already in line with legislation in Europe.
There are undoubtedly consumers who are prepared to pay for higher welfare. The majority of pork and bacon eaten within Europe is produced within Europe. and certainly our major concern would be distortions of trade that might occur within Europe by countries that haven't complied and the legislation not being enforced properly.
If we see production coming down in Denmark, we'll probably also see production coming down in other countries. And having less meat and still the same demand, of course, will probably affect prices in the right direction.
Perhaps on the back of better prices in the next couple of years, which, touch wood, we believe are coming, that may provide the basis for some new investment in Denmark, using the best welfare practices, implementing the best welfare practices, and of course introducing new environmental technologies.
The Danish pig sector recently set new environmental and welfare targets, including the mandatory recycling of 50% of waste into biogas by 2018 and phasing out farrowing crates by 2021.
Free farrowing now is being extensively trialled throughout Denmark. We think we've got a lot of the answers yet, perhaps not all the answers.
We have set a target that from 2021 all new facilities must have loose-housed sows in the service unit. And we have also set a target that by 2020, 10% of our sows must be in farrowing pens. And that is areas that has not been discussed in the EU yet, and it's just begun to be discussed in Denmark.